stones, all that we fought for.
The world needs the X-Men.
You're gonna join them, aren't you?
You wanted me to get out of the house more, right?
It's all of us against a god.
Let's go to war.
Bryan, thanks for your time. Congratulations with the movie.
Thank you.
And the first question is, after many films of X-Men, what made you decide to make this story, the story of Apocalipsis, right now?
Because it was part of a kind of master plan. It started with X-Men First Class. When I pitched that idea to the studio, I really wanted to tell the origin story of Magneto and Xavier, but ultimately with the goal of working my way up to introducing young Jean, young Scott, young Storm, and other characters like young Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the process, and I wanted to be the one to do it. And also tell the story of the formation of the X-Men. Mm-hmm. You know, no one has ever told that story. I mean, there's a brief group, they called themselves the X-Men in First Class, but most of them perish. So how did Xavier agree to allow a fighting force underneath his school?
Yeah.
And it takes Raven to kind of come in there and the presence of Apocalypse to wreak such havoc on the world that Xavier finally concedes, you know, we're a school, but we're also a fighting force. And that story was very important for me to tell because I was there at the very beginning. So to me, it's the end or the climax of 6 movies and the beginning of anything possible.
How much of the classic comic of Apocalypse is in the movie?
There's pieces from everywhere, but I'll give you one example. There's something called the Age of Apocalypse, where a lot of people's roles are reversed. Well, I couldn't tell that whole story, so what I did as an example would be I would homage that story by having us find every character in the movie at a different place, at a different station in life than they were in the previous movie. And at the end of the movie, some people end up where you think they're going to end up. Like Xavier with the wheelchair.
Yes. Like me.
Yeah. And then some end up in unlikely places, like Raven. And so for me, I just had to be the person to execute that.
And why did you choose a Latin actor as Oscar for the character?
I felt Oscar physically, although he's Guatemalan, I felt he has this face that could be Egyptian, Asiatic. He could be like Caucasian. He embodied to me a very international presence. He's a brilliant actor. He cares about characters so much like I do, so the two of us would study religions, cults, all these things, you know, it's to prepare him to play a false god, essentially. And I knew that face would translate from when you first see him to the ultimate image of the face of Apocalypse. But in the end, he's just a great actor.
Forget everything you think you know. You're not students anymore. You're X-Men.